Welcome to episode 6 of The Hallway. Chris and I talk about his new nephew that's being born, jump into personal finance, real estate, forming better habits. So a big self-improvement podcast. Really hope you guys enjoy it. And thanks for walking with us. We're back.
Hey, what's up, people?
Back in the hallway, walking through.
Hey.
Episode 6.
Hey.
Here we are.
Back at it again.
With the white Vans.
With the white
Dude, I wear
Vans.
white Vans.
Ugh.
I wear a lot of white Vans. I
love
love
those
Vans.
white Vans, bro.
Dude, I do, bro. The white Vans can go with almost anything.
Yeah.
They really can.
You're right.
They really can.
And when they can't, just get them a little dirty, and then they can go with everything.
There you go. Then they turn into gray Vans, right? Gray Vans.
Yeah, exactly. They're mighty morphers.
Do you have like a shoe style that you go for? Like, because I know that you wear various. You know, you have like I've seen you have like a few, like less than a handful. I think I've seen you wear.
I've got like I have like 5 pairs of shoes to my name, including my sandals, right? So,
do sandals count as a pair of shoes? I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I would say yes. Like they count as like footwear.
Yeah.
But they're not like
shoes. Yeah. It's a gray area.
I mean, could you call Crocs shoes?
Ooh. I think, yeah.
I mean, yes. Yeah. It's closed-toed, right?
It is, technically. Yeah. Technically. I have like 5 pairs of shoes. Most of my shoes are athletic wear. Like, I wear CrossFit shoes because those seem to fit me best, and they come...
Like trainer or CrossFit shoes? Like training shoes or CrossFit shoes?
CrossFit. I've learned to like CrossFit for like daily wear shoes. They're actually pretty comfy, and the support is where it's at. Like I had really like flat and wide feet, so in order for me to get shoes that aren't New Balance grandpa shoes,
oh god,
I have to get trainers.
22 years old and starting to buy New Balance. Oh no.
Yeah, man, it is crazy. Oh, yep, my bad. My dad called me.
Oh, all good.
Yeah.
Is everything okay?
I hope so. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, right before we got on the podcast and we just said, let's start it. Apparently, Chris, you said your younger brother is in labor. That's crazy, man. Yeah. That's awesome.
My younger brother.
I mean, not your younger brother. Your younger brother's wife. Yeah.
Well,
your younger brother's in labor.
Bro, it's 2021, man.
It's 2021.
2021, bro. Anything can happen. So.
Yeah. So you were saying, go ahead.
Yeah, my sister-in-law is having my nephew. They're getting ready. They're in the process. I got a text that she was at 6 centimeters and the baby was in the right position and everything was going well. So everything looks like it's going to line up pretty nice, which is pretty cool, you know. This is their second one, so they know what they're doing kind of this time, you know. And I told them just, hey, man, you know, just let me know whatever you need or whenever you want me to show up. I don't have to show up for the thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, whenever you want me there, I'll be there.
That's perfect. And I think like being there, so when my sister had her babies, right? So I'm an uncle as well. It's like, okay, you can go, at least from my perspective, you can go to the hospital and sit there for like, you know, potentially 24 hours, or you live your life. And then, okay, when the baby, if there's complications, you go. If, you know, once the baby's out, you go. So it's like, you know, I don't know.
If
like
you
sitting
kind of
there
need
for
me like ad hoc, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like as a grandparent, like that's when I would different. Like be there. Yeah, that's different.
Now for my other brother's wife, I went, you know, hung out, and I was in school still, so I couldn't like stay like all day and like work and whatever. So I came, I showed up, we sat down and laughed for a few hours, you know, we hung out, and then, you know, I kind of left, and then I was like, whatever you need or when you want me to come back, I'll be back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as a dad, we got to be there.
Yeah, no, as a dad, yeah.
The dad, like, oh yeah, when you need me, I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be downstairs, you know.
I'm gonna go have some beers with the boys real quick. You know, I gotta record my podcast first.
Yeah, right. I'm in the room, in the delivery room. It's like, hey, can you keep it quiet now?
No, but I thought what was interesting too is like I asked, you know, what hospital you were at, and you were saying that they opted for a birthing center. Yeah. So what is a birthing center? Is that like more? Yeah,
it's kind of lower key. They have sometimes like doulas. It's not like a doctor, a medical doctor or anything, but apparently it's usually lower cost. It's a more homey environment. Sometimes they even do at home, like they come to you. So it's a little bit more naturopathic, lack of medicine, all that kind of stuff, kind of feeling the vibe. From what I've heard, I haven't witnessed.
That's a good word. What was it? Naturopathic?
Naturopathic.
What was that word?
Naturopathic.
And that means, what is the definition of that?
So,
do you know, like, generally?
I don't know the exact definition, but generally it's like anything that's the opposite of medicine. So healing with the world or healing with natural grains and whatever, you know. That's kind of what they use the word for in medicine.
Okay,
it's
cool.
Healing without medicine, basically. Natural ways of healing.
Like using teas and herbal.
Exactly, all that.
You know, maybe like steam and going to a sauna and stuff like
exactly.
that.
Naturopathic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of what they're doing. I mean, they did it for the first child, and he's awesome. He came out great. Everything's good. So, yeah, roll with it again.
Yeah. Hey, if it works, it works, and especially if it's a lower cost alternative. And I think what's important in births, like obviously I'm not a doctor or anything, but the people that I've seen that have, and this may not always be the case, right? But I think that if you, as a woman, like, and I think as a man doing anything, right? If you tend to eat healthy and you exercise, right? And, you know, you're
young and fit,
you know, you have some resistance training where, you know, I think that pregnancy probably in giving birth, I'd say in general, probably goes a lot easier than, you know, someone that may not be as in shape, right?
Yeah, I had a friend in high school. She was probably 17 when she had her kid, and she told me, it was a sneeze. Like, there was pain for maybe 45 minutes, and then, pew. And then I've heard the other horror story where it's like, I've been in there 6 hours, and, like, nothing's happening, and the drugs are starting to wear thin, so like
yeah. And what was like when you heard that other end of the spectrum? Were they older or were they like the same age?
I want to say they were older. Yeah, maybe
they were older. Yeah.
Early 30s. Yeah, early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
and I mean that's definitely a thing. I mean, you think about like, I mean, obviously women can have children like well into their 40s, and it happens, right? Like my girlfriend's mom, I think, had her last child. I think she was like late 30s or like 40. So it's possible, and the child, you know, they can be healthy and everything, but it's definitely gets tougher on your body. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
I think like, what is it, like 35 where they start calling it a geriatric pregnancy?
It really.
Yeah, it's kind of early, but I mean, there's so much margin for error and everything, you know. You never know everybody's body and how they respond to it. A lot of the times, though, the second child, you kind of know what's going on because with the first one, you've had okay, I know my body will tend to react this way to this or something like that, you know. You can learn a lot from the first time. So, the number two is usually better finished product, you know.
yeah, exactly. The first one is tearing open new wounds, and the other one is like, okay, we've done this before, right?
We've been here, done this, know how to react.
Do you think like, because I've seen those, I forget what it is, it's videos, you know, almost like TikToks and stuff like that, but always compare, and you know, maybe Instagram videos or Facebook videos, but always talking about the different siblings and birth order, you know, mattering like crazy. How valid do you think that is? Like, do you really think birth order makes a big difference on a person's like personality and the way that they do things?
I don't remember any specific examples as to the stereotypes that the order would fall into. Like, I'm one of three, and I'm number two, and apparently the number twos have it pretty sorted, and I think I have it pretty sorted, but I don't know if that's like because of being number two. But I will say that they tend to say number two gets left behind a lot, and it has to learn to deal with a lot of shit on their own, and that I agree with. It happened. It did happen, and I don't know. Some people thrive in it, some people don't. You know, it happens.
No, I think it's very true. Like, and if you think about it, your first one is like, oh my God, our first child. I'm sure you're, you know, very conscious of like what you're doing with the child.
Super
and like, you know, trying to put it down the right path. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then the second child's kind of like, okay, we've had our second child, like a little bit more experience, and obviously they still treat you and love you and all that. But then when the youngest comes along, it's like, okay, they have the oldest and then they have the youngest. And then it's kind of like you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now they're all stressed out because now you're on round 3 and it's just like, I've done this 2 times before. But like, it's interesting though, because my older brother has 2 kids. He just had another baby girl. And his first daughter, he would like, she was, I don't want to say coddled because that sounds rough, but she had it easy, you know, like she cried, she'd get picked up because she was the first like grandbaby, you know, like all of that. Well, technically second, but you know, for him. And my brother used to do like this ritual to get her to go to sleep, like pick her up, rock her, sing to her, play music on a TV, dim all the lights, and this was like an everyday thing, right? And then now that baby 2 comes along, baby 2 just gets put down. But baby 2, I will say, is, you know, baby 2's learned. If I'm putting you down in this thing, you're going to bed. Baby 1 was just like fighting it, and he had to build the whole ritual. And I was like, when I saw him, he didn't do it for number 2. I was like, wait, so she doesn't get the whole song and the dance and all that? He's like, nah, man, those days are over.
Those days are over. I guess the question is, does he still do it for child number 1?
Oh, no, she's grown now. She can cry herself to sleep all she wants.
There you go.
Yeah, they got tired.
No, but they say with babies, man, like you got, like, I think that when a child is, and if you think about it logically, it makes sense. Whether it's actually true, I don't know. But when the baby's sleeping, everyone's like, oh my gosh, be quiet, the baby's sleeping. Everyone be quiet, be quiet, be quiet.
Yeah.
But then, which I get, right, because you want the baby to sleep.
Yeah.
But then, if the baby doesn't learn, or if a child doesn't learn how to sleep
in that environment,
when there's noise going around them, right, then they may need the perfect conditions
always
in order to, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. They may need the perfect conditions in order to actually, like, go to sleep. And that may, you know, inhibit them when they grow older.
Yeah. So my brother, when he started dropping off baby 1 at my parents' house to stay the night, it was the same song and dance had to happen. But my mom was not playing that. My mom was like, I had 3 boys and I trained them how to not do this. So my mom was like, she was determined to break the habit.
Yeah. How long did they stay with your mom when they dropped her off or whatever?
It was every now and then. So like every now and then, like a
yeah.
day, or you know, if they went on vacation or something, you know. So like
for sure,
the consistency was kind of there, but not a daily. You know, that's a big thing with kids, the consistent reinforcement. You know. Because
for sure.
They only know up to yesterday. So,
and they're still like understanding the fact that if something is not currently like in their line of sight, then it still exists.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
it's called
that's a thing, right?
Permanence.
That's a cognitive development. Object permanence.
No, I was like testing her one day when she was really young, because I was taking a psychology class and I was like, I should test this. And then I tested it and I was like, is it here? Is it not here? I think I had like a pencil in my hand or something that she liked, and I put it behind my back, and like it was like, and then I brought it back and she's like, oh my god. And then like a month later, I tried the same thing, and my big brother was there watching me, and he's like, no, she's got object permanence. My brother and sister-in-law are like social workers, so they kind of know a little bit of the psyche and stuff, and they were like, yeah, no, we tested her. She's got it. She's good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
it's like,
that's good.
Cool. Just, you know, making sure we're all good. I can tell my professor I did my homework, you know.
Live experimentation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's a cool concept. That was a cool concept.
Yeah, I think the development of humans in general is pretty dope. I mean, thinking about how we grow and how we interpret facts and how we interpret reality, and I mean, it's the whole nature versus nurture thing. And I think that nature definitely plays a role, but nurture for sure is the dominant, I would say, the most dominant element as to how you're going to, you know, come about as a person, and the way that you react to things and the way that you do things. That's what I personally think.
So I think a lot of it is attributed to environment. So with
nurture.
Yeah. So with the environment, you can have, you know, a good environment with your parents and your people around you. And then there's also the environment of where you live, how you live, your lifestyle, your social status, all of that kind of attributes to how you grew up as a person. But then there's also digging into, okay, in the nature side of things, physically or metaphysically, how am I constructed? Meaning like, do I have any type of disabilities that would majorly affect my life? And that's something, you can't really avoid in that conversation. Because if I'm born dyslexic, there's nothing we can nurture about that. I mean, we can nurture me to handle it, but it is something that I kind of have by nature.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think there's another aspect of that too. Like, if you think of, so defending nature, it's like some people are more athletic than others. Some people have a natural tendency to have, whether the tendons in their bones are shorter or longer or whatever, maybe some people are just naturally, the way that their body design is built, are better at some sports than better at others. And even like somebody that, may just be different can train so hard. And, if this person trains maybe, let's say, I don't know, 75% or half as hard as this person, the other person may excel because of these, natural things that exist, like you said, metaphysically, biology and all of that, like that can attribute to something specific. Yeah. So I think it's a combination. Yeah.
Those things are very real and very concrete. That's the thing with those specific biological nature aspects. They are concrete. Now with nurture, there's a lot of fluidity in it because not every environment is the same. Not every person that you interact with is the same. And nothing is as concrete as the science, and that's kind of why I think a lot of people fall to the science, because science is majority of the time hard pressed, and people like that hard pressed facts.
The facts. Yeah. It's the facts.
It's the facts, and that works for majority of people because you can't beat the proof. That's what it is. The proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, proof is in the pudding. And when I think of this too, I think of more, and it's interesting to use the physical example, but I think of more like your personality. That's what I think. So I think more of the way the tendencies that you have or towards maybe specific types of situations are learned rather than naturally ingrained into you. Yeah. But again, you could argue, so like animals in certain situations, like squirrels are fearful not because of what they've learned, I guess you could argue both ways. Okay, is a squirrel more fearful because it's ingrained with generations and that's how they survive, by running away from different things, or have they learned by looking at other squirrels around them that, hey, that's what you do, you run away. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. You could also look at their ability, because their physical ability may have created boundaries for them in their minds that, your physical ability, what you can do is what you can do. And I'm going to know that maybe even in a fight or flight situation, that I can run really fast, but I can't fight. So my physical limitation is I can't fight. So now every time that I'm in this situation, I've now learned to react this way because I don't have this capability. So you could kind of work that angle on it too, because it's just your physical limitations are real and concrete.
Yeah.
Unless you begin on the course to change that. I could take fighting lessons, but I've learned now to do something else, or I've trained myself to do something else because of a physical limitation that I want to overcome or something like that. So I think it bounces back and forth in many situations.
And that comes down to self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's interesting. I think it was Charlie Munger, I think his name is, so the guy that runs Berkshire Hathaway with Warren Buffett and all that. One of the things that he says, the difference between like people who are really smart and people who are ignorant is that they know where the edge is of their competency.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I know I'm smart to a certain aspect, and that kind of comes down to like self-awareness. Yes. So like I know that I may be very good in this or whatever it is, but I know that I don't know a lot about this. So it's like knowing where that edge is, like, and that comes down to physical ability as well.
Exactly.
I think that we as humans, like, and it's, to take the example, like, and I might have used this example before, but like in sports is a great example. Everyone looks at these professional players that are playing like on this crazy level. Like the Olympics just started, so we can talk about that in a second. But it's like they're like, oh yeah, like I would have made that layup, and it's like, bitch, you would have not made that layup. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, okay.
You're freaking roly-poly ass, like, drinking beer at the bar. Shut the fuck up. Like, right? It's like, come on.
Yeah. You know, your limitations, you got to know. I mean, most of the time, that's just talking out of the ass, but, you know, that's what it is. It's physical ability. And the awareness is the important part, though. I think being self-aware of just everything you do is so important, because if you're not, and you're not aware of your environment, so that there's a twofold. There's being aware of yourself and then being aware of the environment. So it's like when you dive into a conversation, you're aware of the people that you're talking to, and you're aware of the conversation that you're trying to relay, any of that communication, and then you have to be very, very conscious of what is going on and then what you're saying. And when we roll back to abilities,
and what you're feeling as well, and like what you're feeling, and like how that,
and the target of the conversation as well. We talked about leading the conversation before, and when you lead a conversation, you have to be aware of what you're saying and keep your target in mind of what you want. So, how can I be aware of what I'm doing and what I'm saying? And a lot of it rolls back to checking yourself too. So every now and then, like if I'm in a conversation with someone, I'll have to check myself to see, okay, did I mean to say that? Is that the right thing to say? Like before you send a text, right? I'm sure most of us do this. We'll write it out, and then we'll read it back, and then we're like, nah, scrap it. Hold on.
yeah. Is that really what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with social situations, that's like your mind is. I think that people don't like process as much as they should. So like if you're having a conversation with someone, like the amount of processing, they say that if you're in a really good conversation and you're like very socially aware, like, I mean, it becomes easier with time, but social situations are some of the most difficult things for the brain to handle. Because if you think about it, you're getting all of these inputs, like the smells that are around you, like are you closer to the person, the details on their face, like what are their facial expressions, what are they saying, what's the tonality that they're saying this, what, you know, how should I respond? So if you think of all these inputs and these outputs are happening so quick, and that if you just kind of say things, then it could come off in the wrong way. And like you said, you know, if you're trying to drift the conversation in a certain way, like it's not. And, you know, who knows, maybe if you're not paying attention and you're not self-aware, maybe you could be coming off as an asshole. You could be, you know, maybe coming off as like, oh, I know it all. Or, you know, you're talking so much that you're not even letting the other person speak. Yeah. So you don't even notice their disinterest.
That's a common thing.
Because people show cues of disinterest in the conversation. And if you are not socially adept enough to pick it up and be like, okay, or socially adept enough to say, okay, I've been talking a lot. Let me like, you know, open it up, or let me direct it to somebody else. It's like,
that's a two-step thing. That specific example, if I've been talking a lot, I have to recognize that I've been talking a lot, and then I have to make the decision to stop talking a lot. I find myself in that situation sometimes where I recognize that I've talked a lot, and I don't stop myself. I'll be enjoying the conversation so much, or enjoy relaying this information that
the topic that you're talking about, you have a lot to say about it. Yeah,
maybe it's something I'm passionate about, and I'm just kind of going, and I want this person to understand the knowledge that I'm sharing, and I see that they're kind of disinterested, but I'm heavily interested, and it's just like, okay, wait, I'm almost done. Let me keep going and get it out. I know it's not that exciting, but you know, and I'll recognize, but I'll keep going to get it out, and then I'm done. Just so I can clean slate it.
And I think like if you recognize that you're still passionate about the topic, something that I felt like that's been helpful for me, and you know, maybe like when you have that moment of recognition, like I think doing something as simple as acknowledging it, like saying like, hey, like, you know, I know I'm talking a lot, but I just want to make one more point, and then that's it. Yeah. You know, and then you kind of like, because when you can show that you're self-aware. And then, like, not only that you're showing, but like you say what you're gonna do. So you're like, okay,
so they know,
like, blah blah blah. We're talking about a topic. Exactly. Like, I know I've been talking a lot, but like, I just want to say this one more point, and then I say it, and then they're done. So you're almost showing them, yes, I recognize this. I'm enjoying this. I have one more thing to say, and then it's on you. So then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm aware. I do what I say, and I say what I do.
Yeah, I recognize it. You do that a lot, and I do appreciate when you do, because it's, and that's the thing. You've checked yourself in the moment.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself is real.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself, dog.
It is too real. It is too real, because you end up wrecking yourself sometimes. Like,
yeah, dude, you do.
I've been in that situation where I'm just like, I'm talking way too damn much and I ain't check myself.
Yeah. Dude, and there's people that I meet, man, that just don't, like, all right, don't get me wrong. Like, I love people to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I've built a lot. I think that if you really want to be a good conversationalist, you need to, like, engage the other person by asking great questions, feeding off of that, blah, 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 whatever, which in turn means them talking about themselves.
Yeah.
But people sometimes just get so wrapped up in talking about themselves, talking about what they're doing. They don't even give, like, an opportunity, to like say something about you. Yeah. None of that. And when they do, it's almost like fake. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, what about you? And then it's like, okay, then you start, your side of the story, and then people, like, you can already see that they're just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's like, and if you keep doing that, I don't want to hang out with you.
I'm not
like if you're not, if you're not adept enough, I feel like to like understand that a conversation is a two-way street, and a conversation is a give and take. Like, conversations aren't fun then.
No, I do this often where, like, I'll start doing that myself, and I'll really start rolling into myself or something I'm working on, and I just can't, like, I remembered, I was like, oh shit, I gotta ask this person about something they're doing, because maybe I'm working on a project with them, and then I'll, like, okay, take a pause and say, oh, okay, so what did you do about this? Or how did you do this? And I catch myself doing that all the time. Even on here. I'm rolling and talking. I was like, wait. He has a perspective too. Hold on.
Exactly. Engaging both sides, man. That's what's important.
Yeah.
Engaging.
And you learn from that. That's the purpose of conversation, is to learn new information.
Of course, yes.
So how are you going to learn if you're the only one talking?
No, you don't. What is it? I think it was some, like, proverb, or I don't know, whatever it is. But they say it's like, okay, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah. Simple.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
That makes so much sense, though.
Speaks for itself. Well, those of you that are listening, I'm glad that you're utilizing your 2 ears to listen to what we have to say.
Oh, right? Yeah.
So shout out to the people who are actually listening. But the Olympics started this Friday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
I've caught none of it.
Started this Friday.
Bro, I've been so deep in the sauce.
Oh, with your house?
Yes, dude.
Yeah. You closed finally. Yes. Congratulations.
I closed on Wednesday. I've been a homeowner for 4 days now. It has been hell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Bro, this morning I just learned how to partially clean my pool.
Partially clean.
Yep.
Okay.
I figured out how some of the valves turn, and, like, the suction of the scrubber and the skimmer and all that shit, and it's just so much work, man.
It is. Pools are a lot of work, dude. Yeah.
I'm gonna get me a little pool robot to, like, go and clean the pool for me, but until then, I gotta, like, get in there and scrape it off. And, oh my gosh! But I took some time.
Yeah, dude. We used to have. Have you ever had a pool?
Nope.
Have you ever had a pool?
Nope.
Yeah, I used to have a pool, and my dad wouldn't make. I mean, yeah, your parents make you do things, right? So I would clean it. That was my responsibility. He would help as well. But dude, you got to do a lot of stuff. You got to make sure the filter's in there. You got to take the leaves out. You got to get the brush on there. You got to scrub all the sides. You got to make sure you put chlorine every month. If something frogs are going to get in there, whatever's going to get in there, you got to scoop it out. Like, dude, it's work. I mean, if you think about it, you're just maintaining, like, a pool, big chemical, like, it's just a big chemical concoction. Like, it's a big scientific experiment in your backyard that you have to
regularly. And it's crazy because, like, I've never owned a pool before. My parents have never owned a pool before, and I'm sitting here looking at them like, I have absolutely no idea.
What do I do now?
Like, none. I have zero idea of how to take care of this thing until, like, I just started deep diving on YouTube about the chemicals and how to test and how to do this and what the skimmer tank does and the sand tank and all that. And I mean, I'd like to understand it so I could maybe maintenance it and make it better, or take care of it, because I'm gonna have to take care of it for the 30 years that I own this house, right?
For sure.
But
for sure.
yeah.
And at some point, maybe a question to you: do you think that you just bought it, right? So you're gonna live here for a while, but do you think this will be like a home that you maybe even bring your family to, or what are your thoughts? Obviously, long-term thinking, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
So right now I've started remodeling already. So I've scraped down the popcorn ceilings. I've just put down a knockdown ceiling on the top there. It cost me like $2,000, but it was worth it. I'll say it was worth it. We did the whole house. Okay. The guys got it done in a day. So like it was pretty nice. It would be ready for paint on Monday. But I think I can get it to a point that's going to be pretty nice. I want to rent it out. That's the purpose, because it's in the environment for rentals. And right now I'm going to do the whole house hacking thing where I live there and rent for a little bit. But I'll probably move to a new house at some point. And the house is in a great location. So depending on what my new house is like, and when I'm starting a family, what all of the houses that I own look like, I'll have to reevaluate. But I think this house already is going to shape up to be pretty nice. I just started demoing the master bathroom, and the plans that I laid out are already looking like a really nice bathroom. So I don't know. Depends on where it's at when I'm done with it versus what I have elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's almost a decision that you can make, like, as you get a little bit further into real estate, right? Like if you buy another property, I mean, if you like living where you're at, you buy another property for the specific purpose of renting rather than living. And I mean, you can accumulate properties that way. People don't. The house hacking thing is great. I mean, I think it's great to get started. And that, those of you that don't know what house hacking is, it's basically you buy a property. It can be a multifamily property, so like a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex, so 2 units, 3 units, or 4 units. Or what Chris is doing, he's getting a single family home, and you can, just get roommates, right? And that's, very common, very easy way to keep your expenses low.
Yeah.
And what happens is you're basically getting other people to help you pay down the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
But then at some point, if you like where you're living, or you want to buy another property, you can buy it as as an investment property, but you have to put down a larger amount for the loan. And I think that's the toughest thing, because in order to make it an investment, you need to put down 20%. And you think of 20% of a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 house. It's a lot of cash.
Yeah, it's a lot of
cash.
Yeah.
So.
I put down on this one like 8.25% or something like that, and it hurt when it left the account. I have to say, they were like, "All right, go ahead and submit to this routing number." I was like, "Okay." That wire transfer.
But the thing is, man, you are on like the way. Like, I think this is a pretty famous saying too. But scared money doesn't make money.
Yeah.
Like if you're afraid and you just have all of your money, and you're not like looking at like investments, or you're not taking any risks, or you're not just like taking those big steps, then like you're
not doing anything.
Yeah, it's not doing shit. You're not gonna make anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that involves an element of risk.
It does.
It involves an element of risk, and if you're not willing to, I mean, obviously when you're 75 or whatever, and you're in retirement, you're not going to go all stocks, right, and no bonds, or all stocks, no cash,
no real estate, nothing. Yeah.
But right now it's like we have time, like, and that's the thing, man. Especially us in our 20s. You're in your early 20s. I'm getting into my late 20s now. But we have time on our side, and now's the time for risk. Like a lot of people will be like, especially when I got my duplex, man, a lot of people were unsure of the market. They're like, oh, the market's going up. Like, you should wait for the crash. And then, okay, the crash is never coming. Like, the equity in my house grew like crazy. I remodeled the whole thing, like whatever. Dude,
gotta move anyways, make it happen.
Yeah, if you have the opportunity, like, you have to take it. Yeah. And you know what? If shit hits the fan at some point, it's going to hit the fan, but you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to get through it, and that's it.
Exactly. I mean, I bought peak market price. Yeah. But you know what? The good thing is I got in 2.7% interest rate. I mean, that doesn't happen every day. So I got a favorable interest rate, and the price is a little little more, yeah. But
Mhm.
the money that I'm going to put into it, I think will level out. I think maybe in the next year or so, I'll be at a loss if I was to get an appraisal again. I'd be at a loss for maybe like $30,000 to $40,000. But I think
Okay.
in the next 5 years, after I've finished all the remodels and the market has kind of balanced itself back out or rose again, I think I will be back positive, at least that 30, 40K. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of how you have to follow the market to let it ride. Because with housing, I've locked in at this price. I own the property, and I will hold it. It's kind of like buying stocks. I'm going to hold it. I have physical assets now. And these assets
Yeah.
will retain, the property will retain. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't, like, they're not going to come take a quarter of my land, you know?
No,
It's
for
just
sure.
not going to happen. Versus the stock market where, you know, you buy some stock and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is
down,
now
goes up.
worth this. I mean, yeah, it may be worth a little less, but it's a physical asset, you know? And I will hold it until it's worth more to sell it for me than it is to keep it.
Exactly. And I think it's realized versus unrealized profits. I mean,
Exactly.
if you think about it, you bought your house, right? I mean, yeah, I mean, maybe let's say the real estate market goes down. That doesn't mean you lost money.
Oh,
That just means, and I think the way to think about it really is net worth and cash flow.
yeah.
So people get caught up in like all these complicated things. It's like, no, man, like literally just think about your net worth and your cash flow. What is net worth? Net worth is the amount of assets that you own. So everything that you own, including your car, stocks and bonds, like real estate, like cash in your bank account, all that stuff,
Everything.
minus all of your liabilities.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Minus all of your liabilities, which is how much money do you owe to people?
Yeah.
And as long as you're consistent, as long as your net worth is consistently like increasing and you're satisfied with the rate that it's increasing, I mean, that's what you should focus on, right? And even if your house goes down in value, the thing is you're still house hacking. So
Exactly.
ultimately you're not going to pay as much. Your expenses are lower there,
Yeah.
which, you know, allows more cash flow for you to get in, you know, with your regular job and all the other things that you do. Which in turn you can either save or invest more or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's
And for me, in my specific situation, with the rent that I've selected for the people that will live there with me, I've selected a rate that is very competitive with the environment. So it matches the area, right? I mean, I have an amenity. I have a really nice pool.
a nice pool, which you're responsible for, right? Like they're not responsible.
I have a renovated kitchen. It's got a great yard. And so I was able to charge a great rate. It's close to the university. So, I mean, that right there has allowed me to create a good rate for the other 3 individuals that will be living with me, and effectively allowed me to zero my living expenses. So by zeroing my living expenses, I've decreased my total liabilities, moving from renting a property to owning. So I've zeroed that, and then I've increased my cash flow because I've zeroed my liabilities.
Exactly. Well, no, I wouldn't say zeroed your liabilities because you still owe money.
Yeah.
But you would say zeroed at least the portion of your expenses that qualifies,
My
for a
living
roof over your
expenses,
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My month
So I mean,
to
your
month.
living expenses. Yeah, well, your living expenses still count as food, electricity, water,
Yeah.
internet, all that stuff. And obviously that's going to, go down because you have roommates, right?
Exactly.
So I mean, at least internet, electricity, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Lowered.
ultimately,
Lowered substantially. That's what it's about. So with
compared to paying like $1,000 a month at an apartment, like paying, and that's not including all that stuff. Now paying $0 a month, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
This little shoebox.
In addition to them paying off your loan, like they're literally paying off your loan.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
And with that,
yeah,
you have 2 options. If you are able to own a property like that and have renters to pay the mortgage for you potentially, then you have 2 options. You could either take that money that you would have spent on the mortgage if you had it, which you should have it. You shouldn't be approved for a loan if you're not able to pay the mortgage by yourself without renters.
Yep.
And then take that money and either invest it into the property itself to increase the property value, or take that money and slap it at the loan. Go ahead and get a double payment. Get a double payment going every month and just kill it. And once you kill it, the faster you reach the debt-free on a home, the better it is for you. And then you recalculate your amortization schedule, and you've got a lot less you're paying in interest. your PMI could go away if you have it?
The only thing that I would argue against that in your situation specifically is that if you're going to pay like a couple $100 more a month because you want to get the loan, do that. Because you want to get done faster, do that. But the only reason why I argue against that in your specific situation is because of your interest rate is so low. So if you think about it, you said you have a 2.7. So let's, we're going to get nerd out for a second for our listeners. Yeah. But if you're making and it's really simple, at least I think so, but we look into a lot of this stuff. But anyways, 2.5, if whatever dollar you're putting towards your loan, right? Your house loan, you're guaranteeing a 2.7% return on that money. So what do I mean by that, right? So if at the end of the year, if you paid an extra dollar, you saved yourself, 2.75% of that dollar. So it's like, imagine for simple terms, you're getting a return of 2.57% of that dollar. But if you turn and invest that money into the stock market, historically, which returns, anywhere from 7 to 10% year over year. Okay, so what is your tolerance for risk in that element? Do you want to pay down your house faster? Which in theory could be, you'd have to think about it long term. So okay, if I can pay my house in 15 years instead of 30 years, and I use all this money to pay off, okay, what is the back end of that 30 years going to look like? Right? Because you could say, okay, what is my anticipated cash flow going to be after those 15 years? And say, so if we take this 30-year period where I said, I'm going to put an extra $1,000 into the stock market every month, or I'm going to put an extra $1,000 on this mortgage, and we extrapolate that over a 30-year period, you could, in theory, run the numbers and say, hey, I expect rent to be this much 15 years from now. Let's see how much I'd accumulate over 30 years. And then the stock market, and you could kind of say, okay, where? And you could, I think people have done this. People have done it, and they say that the stock market would return more. In if you're thinking 10% a year over 30 years, right, $1,000 a month versus a home, which I would agree. Although I would say that there's a benefit of having an asset like that, a cash flowing asset that is paid off. Yeah. Right? Yeah. If you have a paid off, so 15 years from now, let's say 20 years from now, if you get, 15 years, you'd be extremely aggressive, but let's just say 20 years from now, you have this paid off asset. Now, let's say to maintain the property, I don't know, it's like, $1,000 a month, let's just say. Yeah. But you're renting it for $3,500, right? And you're getting $2,500 of cash flow. Okay, $2,500 a month for you not really doing shit. Yeah. For the next, 20, 30, 40 until you die. That's versus it is good versus the accumulation of that money in the stock market. Okay, maybe let's say, it's $1 million, right? So, okay, if you took that $1 million, So it's, it can get complicated pretty quickly, but I think you see what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying. And I agree with you on part of it, but the part where you have a paid off asset that is cash flowing monthly at a really high rate, and at that point, you're that is kind of where I want to be. How I get there, there's many different ways I can get there, but I think the important part for me, at least in this first 20%, is to reduce the PMI, because after I get over that hump, then I think the evaluation might be a little bit more intuitive when I'm talking about, do I take that money and invest, or do I take that money and continue to pay down the loan at an aggressive rate? Yeah. There's options.
No, for sure. And I think the one thing, I'm not, unsolicited advice here, and I'm just talking from the research that I've done and my personal experience, and anyone who's willing to challenge it, please. But I think diversification is a huge key. So I think that you should definitely consider paying off your home faster. At the same time, I don't think, in my personal opinion, I don't think that it would be smart to dump all of your extra money into that house. Yeah. And not, continue to invest or cost dollar average or whatever you decide to do in the stock market. I think that you should be doing both.
I agree. And that's the thing. You got to maintain the balance. And you were right with the diversification. That is very important, because now you're right. If I pour all this money in and hurricane,
it's over.
Yeah, we're done. We're in Florida, it's possibilities, and that's a thing. So what I could do is, just manage it well enough where, with an overpayment, you don't have to overpay the entirety of the mortgage. You don't have to double down, you know. It's an overpayment. No one has asked you to put a specific amount. So I could do a range of $100, $200. I can do half of what the mortgage I would have paid and then take that other half and invest it. But that's the thing. I think the investing in a house at this rate is a lot lower risk than some money market accounts. It depends on, you know, what you're getting into. There's a lot that you can purchase on the stock market that are safe and reliable investments. But, you know, there's also some that are a little riskier, but, you know, risk-reward balance. But that's what I think with the house. It's probably a safe bet for me at this point in time to go ahead and just...
I agree. I mean, go for it. You're living there, dude. You're living there. And that's the thing. I mean, when I bought my duplex, right? And it kind of sucks. I wish it was, you know, maybe earlier, but anyways, I bought my duplex and I had to remodel the whole thing. You saw it. Yeah. I mean, I didn't remodel the whole thing. I didn't redo the kitchen. I didn't think it needed it, but yeah, I did a lot. I mean, new floors, painted everything, like new closet doors, new baseboards, redid the bathroom, all that stuff. Yeah. Anyways, if you think about it, when I did that, I closed on my house in February, right? And February of 2020. So that was right before the market took a shit. Yeah. and when the market took a shit, it kind of sucks if you think about it. When the market took a shit, one of the biggest drops in history, right? And it dropped by 20-30% or something like that.
Yeah, pretty bad.
I had to spend money because I was on a time crunch. My money didn't get to go into the stock market. My money was I had to get this house done. Yeah. So it's I spent 20-30 grand to get this house done, where in theory you could say, okay, I missed an opportunity in the stock market, but because of situationally, right? Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you could argue it in so many different ways. Yeah. And that's why I think I was still investing in the stock market, which I'm glad that I was. It's not like I completely shut off because I had the capital to continue to do so.
But not as aggressively.
But exactly. But I think what's good for you right now is that you already bought the house. The stock market's still going up. I'm assuming that you're still doing, your investment strategy, whatever it is. But if you can get this done as quickly as possible, at least the house wise, get it done. And then when it's done, you have that cash flow. And now if something were to happen, you literally, even if you're paying your mortgage more every month, let's say the market takes a shit again, you're okay, stop those extra payments. Literally for the next, let's just say we're talking for the next 6 months, the market's taking a shit. I'm not doing anything. All of my money, I'm just buy, and that's kind of the strategies that you can think about, especially when you have a home. I mean, you can do a lot of different things with it.
And that's the thing, is it's the cash flow. You have the flow of income, and you can divert it wherever you think was right at the moment, which is, there's a lot of case by case. But,
definitely,
you work with what's best for your scenario. Overall, you want to look at your total cash flow, your jobs, all of your investments, and everything that's coming in to your checking account. What is hitting your checking account? What can you take that money and buy with it or invest with it? Yeah. And for a lot of people, you've got a sizable amount of overhead. I mean, hey, if you like to go out and party, and drink a little bit, spend a little bit, that's you, man. Yeah. But, if that's where you are, that's where you are. But if you want, there's plenty of investment opportunities where you could make more down the road. And that's what it comes to. A lot of people don't see the value in waiting a little bit to get a little more money. Yeah. And I think that's kind of plagued many of people. A big factor in all investments is time. You have to put in the time first to get the money. You have to put in the time to wait and let the money grow. And some people, they want the money now. They want the money now so they can buy the biggest truck, or buy the biggest this, or throw the money around the club and do this. Hey, I need spinners on my El Camino. That it plagues the world. It really does. And I see it so much, especially in poor people culture, where you have a need to spend on everything. You walk in. I've had a friend before in high school where they lived in a not so great neighborhood, but the dude had PS5, Xbox. He had the 70, 80-inch TVs, the car with the biggest sound system. I was like, yeah, how much did you pay for this? I paid $1 million for him. bro, what are you doing with your money? I was like, why? Do you need this? Like, you couldn't, like, put that to the roof or the light bill for the next month, or invest it here and double that, and then, maybe buy yourself something nice. But a lot of people don't see that, I've seen many cases like that, and it's just like, yes, nice things are nice, but more money and then some nice things is even better for me personally. I mean, I don't know. Well, have you had an experience like that where you've seen people kind of just?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. I mean, even sometimes people you care about, you know, and it's like, how do you tell them? How do you? And that's the thing, man. Like, at the end of the day, like I've been, we're big personal finance advocates. I'm a huge personal finance advocate, and sometimes you talk to people that you care about, and they tell you like where they're spending these things, and like they're doing this and that, and I'm like, you can and you can, all you can do is share your philosophy, but just sharing it, not like a convincing, but just like, hey, this is what I do, right, and it helps me, like, because of this. And either and I think that it's up to you as an individual. It's not really anybody's personal responsibility to transition you to think of how you spend your money. It's really has to come from within. I think that you can have conversations to like help people, but exactly. But at the end of the day, it's like they're responsible. You need to figure it out. Like, if you want help, come to me, like, because that like I know about this, I'm passionate about it, like we can figure something out. But if you don't want to help yourself, I'm not going to help you.
No, and that's crazy, because I had a guy over to my house yesterday to help me get the ceilings done, right? And he was telling me about his house he just bought in Kissimmee. He bought like 2 acres, really nice house, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and he's like, I got the whole thing. I got it for $180, like a year ago, and I was like, or 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, that's great, man, that's great. And he's like, yeah, man, I pay like $2,000 a month on that thing, and I was like, $2,000? Is that just the principal and interest, or what's the deal? He's like, yeah, $2,000 principal and interest, and I got a really great deal. And this year when the interest rates started going really low, he's like, somebody called me to refinance, and I was like, nah, I don't need that. And I was like, yes, you do. What do you mean? And it's just like, he was telling me all this stuff, this great stuff that he got, and I'm just like, but someone mentioned to you that you could refinance and get your rate from a 3.5 down to the 2.75 that it's at right now, and you just turned that away. And that's where I kind of was like,
well, on the other, so to that point, the other side of the coin, in order to refinance, so you remember how you paid closing costs and all that?
Yeah.
So you actually have to pay that again. Yeah. So you could, I mean, not going down too far down the rabbit hole, but if he bought the house less than 2 years ago, and he's going to have to pay another, 7-8 grand in closing costs, right? I mean, what you could, in theory, right? Not in theory, in practice, you could calculate, okay, should I put that 7 or 8 grand just directly into the house? Yeah, or should I? Right, so you can.
There's potential for it, but
but I see what you mean. I see what you mean. Like, you need to explore your options.
You need to explore your options, and he seemed like he told the guy just like straight up, no, I didn't want to do it. I don't even want to look at it. And it's like, bro, you could be saving yourself a lot of money, because he even said that he got his house appraised before the crash, and his house was worth like an extra $30K, $40K, and I'm just like, okay, so you refinance, you can give them the new rate, and then you could use the cash out to pay for the refinance, so you'd be on a better track, maybe, I don't know. So I just kind of I gave him a little bit of what I know, and then I said, okay, these are some options. The rates are still really low. It's not too late. And he was like, oh, okay, so I might, yeah. I gave him the name of my lender, and I was like, okay, well, just mention my name. I sent you. Maybe I get a discount next month.
Yeah, maybe.
And it's just, I knew a little bit about it, and I heard that he was doing something great, and I was like, hey, I might be able to help you out a little more. Here's how I can help you out a little more. Here's the
knowledge. Like, here's my perspective, really.
Here's my perspective. Here's my knowledge. Take and do with it what you will. He probably won't do anything. Do it for what you will. But that's up to you, man. It's up to you.
Yeah. People have to make their own decisions, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. And I think that goes for any change in your life.
Yeah.
Like, if it's financial, if it's physical, if it's mental, like if it's
Up
with
to
your
you.
work, if it's with your fun, like if it's with your personal relationships, like you ultimately make decisions that are going to impact all aspects of your life.
Yeah.
And whether you decide to, and I think this comes down, I heard this the other day, came from some book. I need to start writing down like where these things come from so I can start maybe recommending things.
Yeah.
But it was easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life. Okay. So if all the choices that you make are easy, right? So, oh man, should I go out to the club? Or should I like and think of the day-to-day decisions that you make. Like if you're making easy decisions, like easy choices, like if you're saying, oh, I'm going to go to the club, I'm not going to do my laundry, or I'm going to go out to eat instead of cooking at home. I'm going to, I don't know, I'm going to ignore like, I don't know, like maybe you're having a beef with someone. I'm just going to ignore it and ignore this person that rather than confront the situation. Like if you could, and there's a million examples that you could use, and I'm sure you could think of some as well. But if you have these choices and you're always choosing like easy routes, then ultimately your life is going to be more difficult.
Yeah.
But if you're choosing hard, if your decisions and the things that you're choosing are harder, so like it's like us choosing on our Sunday instead of sitting here watching Netflix, we're here making a freaking podcast instead of like, using our money and going to which obviously you go to the club and like it's okay to have fun. Yeah. But like instead of blowing our money on like a fancy new car or whatever, we're investing in real estate and like going into the stock market. It's like, yes, the decisions that we make are hard. And like even relationships that you have, like, trying to reach out, and that's a hard thing to do. Yeah. Like but if you think about it, if you tackle these problems and you make these decisions that are inherently difficult, in the long run, your life becomes a lot easier. Yeah. And that's, think about the decisions that you make daily. Like, are you choosing to just hit the snooze button? Or are you choosing to like are you choosing to hit the snooze button? Or are you choosing to get up and do a workout? Are you choosing to like, I don't know, meditate for a couple of minutes? Or are you just choosing to scroll on your phone? Like what decisions are you making? And don't get me wrong, we're all people, like all of us, man. And like, and there's easy decisions that you make, like, and that's okay. Okay. But you gotta think of like that big picture, like, okay, like, yes, okay, I'll roll over today, but if you're getting up every day, right, for the last 6 months and you snooze on a Sunday, it's like, okay, you're Sunday. Good, bro, Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting to think about like that very simple principle and how it can relate, to the way that your life may go based on the decisions that you make.
Yeah, I think a lot of that rolls into the effort that you put in. So you could kind of relate that to the effort that I have to put into this decision. An easy decision versus a hard decision is the hard decision. It's going to take me more time, or it's going to take me more money, but in the end, it's going to be better for me. Or it's not going to take me more time or more money, and it's going to be really good for right now. And that happens a lot because a lot of people think short-sighted. And it's whatever's good for me right now, whatever looks good for me right now. And that's the same thing that I was talking about earlier, where, hey man, buying that new Xbox or that new PlayStation is really good for me right now, and I'm gonna just do that instead of investing in the stock, and then in 5 years I could buy 10 PlayStations or whatever. It's what's good for me right now versus the effort that I have to put in to work towards something that's good for me later. And you try that.
And I saw this YouTube video the other day of this guy, and he like it was one of those classic videos like, oh, like what I learned in my 20s, and this guy, he just turned 30. So he was, a self-reflection type of video. And I think that those are always really good. And I like to hear what people have to say, especially someone that's been through it, just to, listen to people's potential mistakes. And one of the things that he said was this guy he did a lot of like drugs and alcohol. Like he was, into that stuff, and he did it like, more often, I think, than, I would say is acceptable in normal culture. And he was trying to get out of that. And the small decision or at least the self-realization that he had was like, what would future me want? Yeah. Right. And something as simple as, and he said it, something as simple as, I thought about what tomorrow me would want, right? And does tomorrow me want to be like hungover, like in bed, like can't get up because of whatever?
Yeah.
Or does tomorrow me want to get up like, wow, like I'm glad I didn't do that, or I'm glad I, only had 4 beers.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm only had 4 beers instead of 12.
Yeah.
Like, and it's it's one of those things like, what does future me want? And you can even extrapolate that to those simple decisions to like even longer decisions. You say, okay, well, what does me want a year from now?
Yeah.
What does me want 5 years from now? And this, when you think about it that way, like where do you want to be, or what would you like? What should you do right now that like your future self will turn around and be like, "Yo, thanks, Jacob," or "Yo, thanks, Chris,"
Appreciate
or
that.
whoever it may be. Yeah, like thank you for doing that, because now
we can
and
do
I think
this.
that's the core principle of developing habits. That's the core principle. Like, I think that people, you're talking about short-sighted, but it's like, okay, the moment, no, future me, like think of like yourself in the future. And sometimes you may be thankful that you bought that Xbox. And you know what? If you're doing a lot of great things and you really, and I actually want to talk about a topic right after this. So I know I'm talking a lot, but I think it's really good information.
Yeah.
So like if you really value that Xbox and you use that Xbox and you like love it, you love playing games, your friends play games, like you get like this crazy sense of enjoyment that you spend, $500-600 on this machine rather than $500-600, I don't know, doing something else.
Go for
then
it.
Freaking go for it. Yeah, man, go for it. If that's like what gives you this much joy, but then it's like, okay, but now you say to your specific example of your friend, if you say, okay, the Xbox, okay, the PlayStation 5, okay, the sound system, okay, the spinner rims. It's like, okay, are you really like, yes, you do get enjoyment from these, but you have to really say,
Balance
okay, well, where should I? And this comes down to the principle. So Ramit Sethi, I believe that's how his name's pronounced, but he wrote this book, and it's called, and I think I might have discussed this with you at some point, Chris, but he wrote this book. It's called I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's a very it's like very gimmicky title.
Yeah.
But one of the core principles, at least that I found was the most helpful, is he talks about this concept of money dials. So he says that, we've talked about this before, but I think it's good information. But it's really saying, okay, think about all of the things that are in your life and think about them like in terms of dials. And dials, like you turn up the amount of money that you spend and you turn down the amount of money that you spend. And you could say this about so many different things. You could say this about your car. You could say this about where you live. You could say this about the food that you eat. You could say this about the city that you live in. You could say this about your fitness. You can say this about like literally any. You could say this about having the latest phone, have the video games, whatever. Basically, he says, think about like the one thing, usually the one thing, maybe two things, depending on how much money you have or what you want to spend or whatever. But think about these one or two things that if you were to, so as an example, I know that Chris, you like cars, you're into that, you're rebuilding your Miata, whatever. Think about the amount of money that you spend on your Miata right now. Like, what if I told you like tomorrow, like or tomorrow you would like spend, sorry, I'm kind of butchering this. You would spend 10 times the amount of money on your Miata, like starting tomorrow. Like that's your Miata, you love your Miata. If you spend 10 times the amount on your Miata, what would that look like? Right? And how much enjoyment would you get from that? And that's, you take that principle and you say, okay, I really enjoy this one thing, so I'm going to turn that spending way up, and then everything else can go to the wayside. Like the food that you eat will be obviously like, you want to stay healthy, but it wouldn't be as much. Like you try to skim the cost there. Like where maybe the city that you live in, okay, I don't want to live in New York City, right? So I'm living in Florida or Georgia or I don't know, Texas that doesn't have income tax. Like all of these other decisions, all of these other things you turn down, and that one thing that you find that you just really, really enjoy, you turn up.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the maximum, right? So then that way you can spend money on things that bring you joy. And all that other stuff, like, you don't have to worry about. And that's where that extra money will come for you to spend, save, and invest and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's the principle that I want to say. Yeah.
You got to turn the dial. But you have to turn it equal.
So which dial, it's the thing is about identifying, like, which dial is yours.
Yeah. And it changes over time. You're not digging into that one thing. Because for me, I had the Miata for a while. It's great. I love it. And it died a few months ago. And I have spent $0 on it in the past probably 3-4 months, because now I've turned up the dial on buying this house. I've turned up the dial on getting this house done and finished. So this dial over here is now plateaued. But at some point in time, it's going to revert. And now my passion will drive back here. But I've learned that in order to get this dial where I want it, I have to turn this one down or turn this one off. I mean, maybe temporarily, maybe not, But that's the thing. You got to know where to pull that from, because you can't just turn the one dial and not adjust the others. That's an important lesson too.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Like, you can't have all these. It's one, or I mean, two is even pushing it, right?
Yeah.
What's the one thing?
Yeah.
Like, what's the one thing that you enjoy? Yeah. And for me, I feel like that's like traveling and like doing things, right? Like experiences.
Turn it
and
up.
even when I do travel, it's more of like, I still like, what's interesting about traveling is, like, I like to travel cheaply because I feel like it makes you more creative.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It makes you more creative, and I feel like you yeah, and you deal with challenges. Like, you may have like these smaller challenges that you wouldn't deal with if you're staying at a 4 or 5 star hotel.
Yeah, no.
Right? Yeah.
That's the thing. I was trying to figure out the other day what kind of like pool cleaner to buy, and I knew nothing about nothing. So I was just like, all right, well, the most expensive one on Amazon must be good, right? That'll probably solve all my problems, and hey, throw the money, great, solves all the problems the majority of the time. Or for a few less dollars, I could get this one, save some money, but I got to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that to kind of, finagle it. But that's when you start to learn things, because now it's not just, throw it, make it rain, problem solved, And there's a lot of scenarios where that's usually true. It's just, hey man, throw the money, I don't have to worry about it. And
it's true.
Other times,
like something as simple as putting up a ceiling fan, right? Like, if you like put up ceiling fan, like if you just pay a guy to come and put up all the ceiling fans in your house, or like change the toilet in your house, or do these little things that actually like may seem difficult, but really if you took the time, they aren't that hard.
Yeah.
One, yes, it's going to take you a little bit more time. Yes, you're going to deal with some challenges that you may need to solve. But at the end of the day, you're going to be able to go through those challenges and learn something.
Yeah.
And then whenever you potentially encounter that situation again, you're going to have that knowledge that you had, and to be able to solve it.
Yeah. Right? That's what it is. You gotta. It's a learning thing. It's definitely a learning thing. Yeah. And with a lot of those types of hands-on things, I'm definitely here for it. I support the learning. Oh my gosh, everyone is trying to call me these days.
Is it because your nephew's born?
It might be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Let me shoot him a text. I might have a nephew, guys.
So let's do that. Let's end it on that. So Chris's nephew is born. So he's gonna go to the birthing center, and he's gonna go see his new nephew. So that's gonna be great, man. I'm so excited.
I might have it. Let's see. Do I have a little nephew? Oh man, I gotta throw some pictures once I get him. I love my nephews and nieces. They're the greatest little munchkins on earth.
Oh my gosh, they're amazing. Good. Well, I hope you enjoy your Sunday. I'm hoping that it's a safe birth. And dude, thanks for walking down the hallway with me. A lot of personal finance today, which I enjoyed.
Man, we're here for the money, bro. We're here for the money.
Here for the money. All right, guys. Thanks for walking down the hallway with us. Have a great evening. Great day. See ya.